Hello and welcome to Strong Talks. We are going to be discussing immunity today, which was something we actually touched upon last week in our live with Zana Morris. But she'll be joining us again today as we talk through the reasons why it's actually really important to build your immunity in spring. It's often something we associate as through the winter months, but actually why it's really important for us to do it in spring as well. So Zana's going to join us. We've got some questions and she's going to explain how we can support ourselves. So...
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very good, actually. Very good.
Good, lovely. Well, I've just been to an Easter service with the school, so I'm feeling very spring-like. And I've just done a little introduction. So today we touched a bit about immunity last week through some of our questions that had come in. But I think today what we wanted to talk about was how reasons why we should build our immunity in spring. So we often associate illnesses and bugs and having a strong immune system as something we need through the winter months, but actually you were explaining to me how important it was for the spring months.
Oh, 100%. I mean, obviously it's important all year round, but definitely you associate building yourself up coming into the winter, thinking, yeah, that's the time to protect yourself. Where I find so many get hit almost by bugs at this time of year as you're sort of coming out of it,
Yeah.
rather than just going into the winter. So it's not just almost a winter protection. I do think this time of year it's almost like the tail end of the winter. I'm not sure if it's the extra stress over the winter months, or more likely the fact we've been indoors for so much, or nearly our natural immunity is slightly impaired.
Yeah.
But it's almost when people are coming out of it that all these little spring colds kind of start arising, or little bugs that you're not expecting to start cropping up. And I definitely find that with clients a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it has felt like quite a long winter for some
It's been
reason.
an
It
extraordinarily long
has.
one. Yeah,
And
really has.
the bugs have really knocked people for six. And it's not just been that you've had a cold and you've moved on from it. It has really felt like it has dragged you down, and energy levels and things like that have been really affected, I think. So it's really important. When you were talking to me yesterday, just the things that you were saying about the reasons how sort of why we need to boost it up and how we can boost us
Yes,
up. We touched
yes,
upon seasonal allergies as well, which we'll
yes.
come on
We did
to.
indeed. Yeah.
So you were mentioning to me the runner's
Oh,
cold
the runner's cold.
equivalent.
I know, I know. We don't hear people talk about it as much now, or I don't anyway, but it used to be very much a thing where you had, well, it was called a runner's cold for a reason, because it was runners who usually got it. Those who like to do their lovely long runs on a regular basis could suddenly get a cold that could last 3 months. They couldn't shake it off. And it was almost all that exercise. It was just wearing the body
Yeah,
down. So
yeah,
you had a body if you think about it, our body has only so many resources. We sort of think that we can do 100 things and the body can do all of it.
yeah.
It can with reason. But if you're channeling resources, for example, in this instance, into long hours of running, that's
Hmm.
a lot of the energy, a lot of your food, your nutrients is going in to keep you upright. And eventually those resources can dip, which means if you get hit by a bug on the side, you're not
Yeah,
as strong to just throw it off.
yeah, yeah.
And I find at the end of the winter can be a little bit like that.
Well, I
You've
guess
done this marathon run.
lots of people have survived, and now they're like, oh, summer's coming. Let's really pound the pavements. Let's work out. Let's really put up. We've got to get summer ready, and
Yes, and
your
then they
mind
can
and
hit
your
it. Well,
body aren't aligned.
exactly. You can be coming out of a long winter. Your body may not be quite as strong or robust as it was at the end of last
Yeah.
summer. And then, while you're not quite at 100%, maybe you're only at 60% or 70%. And then now you're going to go, oh, the weather's fabulous. Now I'm going to get fit.
Hmm.
And then you launch into either the classes in the gym or your walks and your runs and your hikes and your cycles, and you're going to get fit. But you're going from being slightly under par into jumping up to 120% isn't what you need.
Yeah.
So along comes a little bug that your body might normally throw off because it's got all this reserve to do so, but it doesn't have it in
Yeah.
store. So yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That,
you,
that's what you
yeah,
need.
your body's trailing behind your mind, trying to kind of keep up with it. Um,
Exactly. The two aren't matching. The two aren't
no,
matching.
no. And you explained as well about yeah, our cortisol levels at this time of year as
Yes,
well.
yes. Well, again, and this sort of goes without saying, there's no question the winter months, and particularly if it's damp and it's grey and it's dark, it's not even the cold, as everyone says, it's always the light. It can have that sort of an impact on us mentally where you get a bit down. Stress levels can feel and be a bit higher, quite frankly. And dare I say, and I don't have children. Obviously, I have nieces and nephews, but if you've got a house full of children as well that you're dealing with everything being indoors way more, the stress levels can certainly go up.
Yeah.
And cortisol really does eat at our reserves. And if you're going to go then, and we're tagging that into days are going to get longer, brighter, weather's getting better, now's the time we're going to get out and get some fresh air and get fit again.
Hmm.
If you overtrain, you can increase your cortisol levels further.
Right.
A little bit of exercise is good for you. Sorry, this is not encouraging people not to go out. Please go out. But it's sort of just be mindful that if your cortisol levels are high and now you're going to really drive into extra training sessions, so you're going to drive those cortisol levels up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now you could start getting yourself into trouble from an immunity point of view. It really can wear and hit. If the adrenals get too hit and you run into a little bit of adrenal fatigue, you're far more likely to get colds and flus readily. And it's exactly like, and again, we were saying this, how many people, oh my gosh, how many of my clients go on these lovely holidays after a very stressful period, and the first thing they do is get
Yeah.
the flu.
Yeah, yeah. You were well. You were saying like aeroplanes, you can pick things up, and but it's just sometimes just the stopping. Suddenly, your body says, "Oh, now's time to have
Now I'm just
have that
collapsing.
bug."
I've had enough. So
Yeah,
it really is just, there's a lot, you're holding yourself together almost, and the adrenaline and the cortisol are doing it. But underneath that, that body just isn't keeping up with you, quite
mhm,
frankly.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah,
it is a case of, as you rightfully said, trying to bridge the gap between where your body's at and, dare I say, where your brain is at when the sun starts to shine and the days get longer and brighter, and you go, yay, now I feel I'm ready to get out.
yeah,
Kind of want the two to marry, if that makes sense. Like have the body catching up so you can get out. And I'm not recommending you pound the pavements, but if that's what you want to do to feel good this time of year.
yeah,
But if you're getting out and really going for it, using the long days, just get the body to catch up and keep up to
yeah,
avoid getting any of those bugs.
yeah. And because our sleep pattern changes as well, really, at this time of year with longer days we want to sort of stay up later and enjoy
Yeah,
it more, but then that obviously must impact upon our bodies of not getting as much sleep perhaps as we were before.
very possibly. And if everything's on an even keel, that can
Mhm.
work very well. I do think we naturally, melatonin and the likes, that hormone that puts us to sleep,
Yeah,
gets triggered with the change in daylight and so on and so forth.
yeah,
So naturally, I suspect as mammals, we probably are designed to sleep slightly less in the summer and slightly more in the winter. So
yeah,
there's no question. But if our bodies are under par and you're asking for all this extra resource, now you're staying up an extra 2 hours and you need that extra
yeah.
energy to do so and stamina to do so, and you're not having the recovery time and that
Hmm.
sleep time, then
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. You're pulling on your resources
yeah,
without question. I mean, the extra vitamin D, if the sun is shining in the daylight, is actually, you're making the most of it. It's good.
yeah,
That's gonna that's gonna
yeah,
help. But let's
yeah,
fill the gaps in. Yeah, I think so.
definitely. So what can we do to help ourselves?
I mean, there are lots of things nutritionally, but we were kind of looking at it from a supplement point of
Hmm.
view. Obviously, nutrition plays a role. There's no question. Of course, it does.
Hmm.
But let's say that the fast hacks, because this is a bit of an allergy season as well.
Yes.
So actually, what I'm going to mention in the supplements applies to nutrition, because some of these are going to be very obviously available in certain foods. Now we hit upon this last week. We were talking about the Cellution briefly.
Yeah.
Cellution is one of those products in Strong Nutrients, which I'm going to be straight up, we don't sell as much of, because clearly most people are looking at us for things like we're going to lose some fat, or we're going to firm up, and we're going to strong for the training, and that was the purpose of the whole brand, quite frankly, was that. But equally, you can't ignore your underlying cellular health, if you will, when doing all of that. That makes a big difference. And the lovely thing about the Cellution is it's such a neat little product, and by that I mean there's 14 ingredients in it, as you know.
I'm not
And
going to ask you to name them all.
I probably could. I might name them in order, but I could actually name what's in them. Believe it or not, that I could do. I probably shouldn't count them. I'll probably tell you there's 12 and then give you the 14. But I can name them in them. But each of them they're antioxidants. Now, antioxidants are, as many of us know, but many of us hear these terms and you don't actually know what they mean. It is an antioxidant. So if you think of an oxidant, rust is when metal oxidizes and in reaction to sunlight, water, and all the rest. So you get these things called free radicals, which attack everything. Now, not just our bodies, actually. Rust is free radical damage, if you like. But they attack us internally. They attack the cells and the kind of the structures of cell membranes and the likes. And antioxidants protect the body from this free radical damage. So there's certain nutrients, certain vitamins, certain minerals, certain amino acids that have an antioxidant effect. They protect the body from oxidizing. It protects us from aging. Exercise can cause oxidization, quite frankly. You're taking all this extra oxygen, and that can age us, weirdly. It's not saying it's bad for us on the one hand, it's good for us, but it can, a lot of exercise can age us. Pollutants can, sunlight does, and tanning, weirdly, it's a weird way to describe it, is essentially rust. Rusting.
I mean, it is a layer of rust.
Yeah, it's like a layer of rust. But I mean, I personally, I like a light tan. I'm not saying people should or shouldn't, but I like it. I think we look healthy with it.
Definitely.
But it is oxidization as such. So anything that protects the body from that damage in the longer term does seem to help protect the body from aging, full stop, quite frankly. And in the bigger scheme of things, they've been shown to help protect against bigger illnesses like cancer or heart disease, those kind of ones. But just on a smaller level, it just helps your immune system, if you like, generally on a day-to-day. So each one of these little 14 ingredients is an antioxidant. Most of them are anti-inflammatory, so they help prevent inflammation. And that really does seem to help right down at a cellular level. Helps the name Cellution, isn't it? It's to help really in at the cells. But it's a lovely little range where each one of them does seem to target the immune system in a different way.
So if you were to pick out a couple.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Not necessarily your favourites, but if you were to pick out
well, if we were to say focusing on 3 or 4 of these, now this does come into nutrition as well and eating habits as well, because they do overlap as such. So the biggest group of ingredients in it are the carotenoids, as they call them, and the word itself sort of describes where they might originally come from. So carrots are high in them, but so too are any colored vegetables, quite frankly. Carotenoids are a little group of antioxidants that protect. They're what protect plants and leaves from shriveling up in the sun. If you think about it, why don't leaves dry out with lots of sunlight? Now, they will eventually, but they don't with just normal sunlight. And carotenoids sort of protect, or a layer that protect membranes. And they protect us. They protect our skin against damage to sunlight. They protect the membranes of the eyes, the mouth, the throat, the lining of the lungs, if you like. So anything that can reach the air, if you like, that can have contact with air, it helps protect. So the carotenoids are things you get in carrots. They include things like lycopene, lutein. You get them in your tomatoes, those kind of ones. Alpha carotene, beta carotene, those kind of compounds. They're great for protecting against allergies and spring. I was
going to say, is that the one for allergies then?
It's one of the ones that's hugely helpful to protect against allergies. Very helpful. But interesting, protects against damage to sunlight. I used to find, now I say used to find, I used to run a health store in Galway, and I used to find that, and I'm emphasizing the location for a reason. In Galway, okay, you get a lot of what we like to call the Black Irish, and they're the Irish that are lucky enough to tan really well in the sun, and then in the winter they look quite pale, but once they get the sun they get really dark.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the not so black Irish, who won't tan quite so well, with the fair skin, and can burn very readily. And I used to run a health store over there, and we used to very strongly recommend carotenoids to help protect the skin from damage that you get with sunlight. And it really did seem to help protect against burning. Now, I'm not recommending it over sun creams and the likes, but the skin used to act like sallow skin, if that makes sense. So that it wouldn't burn in the same way. So these carotenoids seem to help protect the membranes, including your skin, from this kind of damage. But it does also seem to help protect against allergies, so the lining of the lungs and the throat. It just seems to have this almost protective layer, if you like, is the way I'd be describing.
Yeah.
So hugely helpful for that. And they are, as you said, so if you want to increase them in the diet naturally, you just look for your red tomatoes, you look for your carrots, you look for your coloured vegetables, and fruits, quite frankly. And they help. They're more rich in them as such, naturally.
Yeah.
So they're my first favourite little group.
Yeah.
The second, I mean, there's a few of them. L-cysteine, or NAC, is another version of this, which you'll find in supplements. I find very intriguing because it really does seem to help protect the linings of the lungs, the bronchial tubes. And in some research, they're saying it's very helpful in cases of long COVID and the likes. It seems to help, again, with anything that attacks the respiratory system and tract. L-cysteine, it's an amino acid. It helps create a really good antioxidant, glutathione, and that helps the liver and the kidney detoxify as such. So it has lots of other benefits. But from the respiratory tract, and I'm emphasizing that because a lot of the colds and flus, that's where they're hitting, if you like. It's very useful for that, which also makes me think it's useful for athletes and anyone who's going to do a lot of kind of deeper breathing, if you like. It helps in those lines. So that's another interesting one in there. Turmeric is in there, which is also very interesting, which a lot of people already use as a really good anti-inflammatory. Turmeric, it's good for the immune system. It's good for gut health. And anything that helps gut health helps you absorb your nutrients better. And if you're absorbing your nutrients better, again, that's going to have a knock-on effect on immunity, obviously everything else within the body, frankly. So that's another one in there that I like. And it also then has the old-fashioned favorites, your vitamin C and your zinc, which are always extraordinarily helpful for the immunity. A random aside on vitamin C, I love vitamin C. Really do. I mean, I know it's so popular as a supplement. Of course it is. It's extraordinarily helpful for immunity. But it's also, they found in research, really useful for memory in older adults and brain functioning.
Interesting.
Which I think is a lovely aside.
So is there, in terms of solution having zinc and vitamin C in it, would you then need to supplement with a greater dose, or does it vary upon whether you're fighting a cold, whether you feel a cold coming? How would you sort of recommend?
Yes, so I would say if you're feeling just maybe either that you just want to get your immunity up coming into this time of year, and out of the winter into the summer, or you're just feeling a little under par and you really feel, okay, I feel like I do need to just give myself a boost. I don't think you need any more. There's more than enough in it. If you're taking this as a supplement, a general supplement on a daily basis, there's plenty. If you're feeling, oh my gosh, I'm coming down with something, there's, in my understanding, there's a little window of opportunity you have when you feel you're coming down with something. And it really is, I think, in the first 24 to 48 hours, if you catch it. So taking vitamin C and zinc when you've a cold or flu, I do think is helpful, but sometimes it's almost already too late. It's got a grip.
It's hit.
Whereas if you know the way you can get that little niggle coming into it. So you've two options at that point. The solution will cover it, but if you have the opportunity to add vitamin C and zinc at that point, then I think you really nail it. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's the one time, and probably the only time, I would add vitamin C to the solution mix.
Yeah.
Probably only in that little window if I felt I'm coming down something and I really need to hit it hard.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think the solution covers it. I don't think you need both.
Okay.
And that
And
it
how?
depends. Different people are taking them for different things, but that would be my take on it.
Yeah. And I think someone did ask how much vitamin C should we have a day?
Now that really is how long is a piece of string. So let me, depending on your point, depending which forms of vitamin C, probably the time of year, quite frankly, and what you do. So if you're under a lot of stress, you're running around a lot, you're burning the candle at both ends, you're going to need more.
Yeah.
If you're living in a polluted environment, you're going to need more. So in other words, if you live in a city where you know there's going to be a lot more pollutants versus in the country where there may not be, then you'll probably need more.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, somebody who smokes now, thankfully, most of the people I come across now don't smoke. Thank God. It's a thankfully, excuse the pun, a dying habit,
Yeah.
but it's clearly going.
Yeah.
But for example, somebody who smokes or works in that kind of an environment would definitely need more.
Right.
So if you're if you do a lot of flying, you need more. Flying and long haul flights, and this is another thing about this time of year. We're usually flying on holiday to these locations. That can cause a lot of free radical damage on the body and put a lot of pressure on it. So that's when you can up your vitamin C intake to prevent picking up things both on the flight and because of the almost impact it had on your body on that trip. So there's times when you want to up it. I think on a regular ongoing basis, if you're taking it as a daily supplement, even 500 mg a day is plenty, up to a gram, so 1,000 mg. But if you're coming down to the cold or flu, that can go up to 3 grams easily. If you've got a bug and you want to hit it on, that you really want to hit it hard. Now, I'm not recommending everyone does this, but I have recommended to clients, and it's something I do occasionally do myself. If I feel I'm coming down with something and I want to hit hard for 2 to 3 days, I'll take as much as, now please, I'm not recommending everyone run out and do this, just to be very clear, but I'll take as much as 10 grams a day.
Right.
Um,
And it just flushes through you though, doesn't it? If you
It'll just flush straight through if you don't need it.
Yeah.
Now I find I'm coming down with something and I do that just for a day, maybe 2 days max.
Yeah.
It doesn't flush through me. Now, if I did that on a normal day, oh my gosh, it would be straight through me.
Yeah.
But that's how I know I pretty much need it. My body's kind of used it all up. So anything from like half a gram a day, and as I said, I'm saying super cautiously, the age, super cautiously. But you can go for quite extremes. It does just flush out, and then the forms of vitamin C, you can get the liposomal forms of vitamin C, which are more fat soluble, which the body will store. Vitamin C normally just flushes straight out, and they're very good in that the body then can keep them in the system and in the fat, and it seems to protect the actual fat of the body from oxidizing. So it has a lovely anti-aging effect, if you like.
Okay.
All various forms. There's alkaline forms of vitamin C that I think are more effective against the colds and flus. So in other words, they're sort of calcium ascorbate type ones rather than your ascorbic acid. So there's different forms. But on a general basis, if you're just taking something like the solution regularly as a run up just to kind of give yourself a whole lift, then I think you're getting plenty in that. I don't think you need the extra kind of ones.
Yeah. Okay. And solution, how do we take solution?
The recommended normal amount is 4 a day. In my innocence, when I was working in nutrition and with supplements, this is going back about 25 years ago, actually over 25 years ago, I couldn't understand when supplements were being created why they didn't put more of this and more of that, increase this and decrease that and all the rest, until somebody very calmly looked at me and said, yes, but how big do you want the tablet to be?
Yeah.
Clearly it's all taking up space. Every little bit you add in, it's getting bigger. So it's not 1 a day, sadly, for that reason, because there's more in it and more reach in it to give you the kind of optimal amount. So it's 4 a day for perfection. But because I do appreciate these supplements add up cost-wise, I really do now, genuinely, I get that. So I would normally recommend, if you're taking it for the first time and you just want to build yourself up, do take the 4 a day, do take it with food.
Right.
Either it's 2 twice a day, sort of morning and evening, or 4 with your breakfast, but do take it with food.
Mm-hmm.
And do that for 2 to 3 weeks just to give the system a boost. And then if you want to reduce it down to say 1 to 2 a day on a more ongoing basis,
Mm-hmm.
then you can, and at least you'll have the benefit of the lift of really almost getting your body to soak it up
Yeah.
to really get the hit.
Yeah.
You don't have to take them all the time. You can do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. Often taking them for the run through the winter works really well. This time of year, going through the allergy season
Yeah.
can work very well. And then you may find if you're more relaxed and on a holiday in the summer that you really,
Yeah.
you just can let all these things slide and then go for it again in the autumn.
Yeah.
So there's
And
no harm to cycling these things. There really isn't.
say with food, is that because of like the zinc in it?
It's exactly some of these nutrients. So zinc, you will feel queasy if you take on an empty stomach. Quite frankly,
Right.
it's a harsh little supplement. Like other sort of some minerals, you really do want to take with food, or you feel queasy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas vitamin C, if you took on an empty stomach, you wouldn't notice at all.
Right.
Equally, though, because you're having a lovely mulch of nutrients, the body's natural process is to get food and break down the food and find all these nutrients and then use them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more natural to get it in with the food. And then, as far as the body's concerned, it's just getting it as part of the whole digestive process and pulling it out.
Right.
And it can absorb better with certain foods as well, and certain fats can help the absorption of certain nutrients as well.
Okay. I always take 2 at night, so I will switch that up then. I
Yeah,
tend
take
to
them
just take
for
them at
that one.
bedtime.
Yeah.
um, and we do have an immunity stack at Strong Nutrients. So for those that don't know, our stacks are where Zana has selected products that work together really well to achieve specific results. So we've got an immunity stack which mixes our solution with chill pill. So
Yeah.
how do those two work so well together?
Surprisingly well. So many ailments and illnesses are you get hit when your adrenals are low. Think of it, stress.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're under stress period, it's like your body is just on an overdrive and you can get hit. So many bugs that I've noticed with clients certainly
Hmm.
really come on when you after periods of stress, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And if the adrenals are lovely and strong, chances are you wouldn't have been hit by it. You'd have been able to throw it off faster. So I find if I'm trying to really hit, if I felt something was coming on board as in a cold or flu, I would get the chill pill alongside the solution. Now that combination works super well. And
Yeah.
magnesium can be a little bit useful in this mix too, almost that alkalizing of the body. It's very hard for bugs to live in an alkaline environment,
Okay.
and stress builds up acidity like nobody's business. You don't talk about it much anymore. Stress and ulcers used to always be mentioned hand in hand decades ago. We almost forget about the term ulcer now. We've almost
Yeah.
forgotten about it. But
Yeah.
stress does build up acidity. It's not very useful for any illness, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything that get the adrenals back in their boxes, I'm always saying, but back, calm, relaxed, doing what they're supposed to do at the rate they're supposed to do it, get the cortisol levels down.
Yeah.
It really does help reduce inflammation, and it does have a knock-on effect to the immune system generally. Interestingly, I feel I really like to add this one into the mix here. Cases of asthma, we used to find when working in the health stores as nutritionists, vitamin C and zinc work very, very well to support it. Now, we're not recommending these things over any medications.
Yeah.
Equally, it's wonderful if you don't need to take the medication and you
Yeah.
can just build it naturally. So vitamin C and zinc work very, very well. And in cases of children,
Mm-hmm.
so childhood asthma, what worked even better than vitamin C and zinc, and you just have smaller doses for children, obviously, you just reduce the amount, was adding B5, the chill pill,
Right.
to that mix. And it worked
Okay.
extraordinarily well
Mm.
to getting the immunity up, because a lot of the childhood asthma seemed to be when the adrenals or there was extra stress in there for some reason. They were just more stressed or reacting to stress more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
had a beautiful effect. Really, really helpful.
Okay. And how would you take the two together? You don't have to take them at the
No,
same time, do you? You can take. Okay. So.
you can take them at different times. So a lot of people might take chill pill at night to help with sleep. It helps, with the cortisol levels. It helps
Yeah.
the body, well, it basically helps the adrenals and so on and so forth. So a lot of take it at night. So you can continue to do that if that's when you've been
Yeah.
taking it, if you are taking it. And if you're not taking it, the official traditional way of taking it would have been with food
Mm-hmm.
and taking 2 to 3 with each meal. So between 4 and 6 a day
Right.
with the meals.
Yeah.
That would be the time. It works very well again, absorbs with the food, which is very useful. The before bed on an empty stomach, it's not specifically on an empty stomach you're taking the chill pill, by the way.
No.
It's more that it's before bed. It seems to help with the sleep. It's
Yeah.
another mild supplement,
Yeah.
so tends to be fine with or without food. But it's always useful. If you're not taking it for sleep, then take it with food. It just is quite useful for the body to utilize it alongside the other nutrients
Right.
getting in. So yeah.
So is solution suitable for children?
Chillpill, as I mentioned, there obviously is in smaller amounts, so you'd go much, much smaller quantities. Solution, I would say, in theory, yes. In reality, I may not recommend it unless I did it in very small doses. And the reason being, there's a lot of nutrients in it. Things like the zinc can be a little bit strong. I think in those instances, you're better off getting supplements for children specifically, which will have similar
Yeah.
nutrients in it, but
Yeah.
may not to that mix.
Yeah.
So I would be less encouraging of the solution with children. I mean, over 14, yes. So teenagers, yes, no
Yeah.
problem at all. But younger children, I might say go for a child supplement because they'll reduce the doses
Yeah.
accordingly. And if you're looking for the B5 or the chill pill for a child, I'd go much, 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 much smaller. In that instance, I probably would always just look to speak to somebody, a nutritionist or somebody, just about the portions, just because with children they obviously don't need as much of any of this, quite frankly,
Yeah.
and their immunity generally is much, it's stronger, it's buoyant.
Yeah.
They do pick up everything, but they do throw them off.
Yes. Yeah.
Very,
They're surrounded by it, so they sort of they
their
just kind
bodies
of go
are
with it.
designed to
Yeah.
catch and then get rid of them so that they can build up their own immunity, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. And I think obviously COVID affected so many of us for so long with not being, unless we had COVID, we
Yes,
weren't necessarily ill. And then now feels like I say, this winter's sort of hit quite hard for people. So I think that the changing of the clocks this coming weekend and then the weather brightening up, I think all of that, mixed with ensuring that we take some supplements to give us a boost, I think that will help all of us.
exactly. Exactly. It really
So,
does. And you said it, and I am going to emphasize it. I wouldn't underestimate the power of that vitamin C and zinc kind of combination, even with the
yeah.
chill pill. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't underestimate it for children too.
Hmm.
Now, and I do mean that, and you can get children's versions of these, for children, but it amazes me still to this day how many parents I speak to that will say when they started giving vitamin C, and I'm emphasizing this, you can get children's, ones designed for children, so they're not very big
Yeah.
doses, vitamin C and zinc to children, how suddenly they stopped getting
Yeah.
a lot of the bugs they were picking up
Yeah.
before that their body could deal with it or throw it off much easier,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, and
Yeah.
just hope. So I think it's well worth looking at that.
Mm.
For us adults, definitely this time of year, you want to kind of hold your immunity
Yeah.
up. I also think the changing weather doesn't help because this time of year it fluctuates.
You
It
don't.
can be
Yeah.
lovely, warm and mild one day, and you think summer's arrived, and the next day it can suddenly get cold and damp. And I think
Yes.
that fluctuation really can exacerbate scenarios when it comes
Yes.
to picking up bugs as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
keeping it strong is really helpful.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I'll make sure that I put all details of solution and of the immunity stack in at the bottom of this live. But if anyone has any further questions, drop us a line and we'll be more than happy to answer.
Absolutely. Most
Lovely.
definitely.
Thank you.
We're going to have a look at energy and stamina generally,
We
aren't we?
are, yes, yes.
Yes.
Upping our energy. Yes,
Yeah, on
definitely.
that one, just say that's one we're going to go into nutrition more.
Yes.
We'll be looking at that from a few angles. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
brilliant.
yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me today.
Have a good rest of your day and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.